Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ask Me Anything for March 4th, 2021. As usual, some excellent questions have rolled in. Got my answers laid out here. I've already had my coffee. The day is off and running, and let's just kick it off. So, first question, most upvoted question was from Jared P. Jared P. Let me get your question so I can read it precisely. Thoughts regarding going quote-unquote live for the Open announcements and some initial reactions. Sort of a Friday Night Lights for the community here. Okay. Both yes and no. Yes, because the Open's coming up. It's going to generate a lot of excitement. The workouts, which should get released, I believe, Thursday afternoon, evening. And people can digest them a little bit. And then I do have the intention of sometime on Friday. Exactly what time that will be, I'm not sure yet. But sometime on Friday, doing a little Facebook Live video for the Linchpin private track community, chatting about whatever the workout, that Open announcement was, what the workout looks like, my initial thoughts, reactions, some potential maybe strategies that different people might want to pursue given their strengths or weaknesses, anything that I perceive as particular sticky points in the workouts or whatnot. So yeah, that chat will occur. I can't give you an exact time yet that will happen, but we'll go ahead and make that known in the private track Facebook group so that we can all celebrate those things together. It'll be good to go. The Open's fun. People, I think, get stressed out about the Open. It doesn't stress me out at all. It's just another workout. That's all it is. It's just another workout. And a lot of the Open workouts, well, they're beautiful, classic CrossFit workouts in general. What makes them sting so badly and just be scorched in people's memories is just intensity. The amazing ability of intensity to leave you on the ground and make a workout go from somewhat normal to, change your life with how bad it stung. And when these workouts come around, and the Open comes around, when that quote-unquote Open workout is announced, people put far more pressure on themselves than they do on a regular workout of the day. They attack it much more ferociously than they do on a typical workout of the day. And of course, that leads to significantly elevated levels of intensity, which then lead to going like, holy cow, that workout was crazy. It destroyed me. And it probably was a beautiful, wonderful workout. But it's the intensity component, that little bit of competitive spark or caring a bit more or pushing a bit more, whatever it happens to be. I would see the same thing happen all the time back when regionals were around and would cover regional events. And for a bunch of athletes, a bunch of those high-level CrossFit Games athletes, a day of regional events could potentially be no more volume or no more anything, even over the course of a weekend, than those crazy competitors would do in their normal training. And yet, even though it was nothing more from a work standpoint than they were used to doing, they would describe levels of soreness and being trashed from a regionals weekend that they just don't experience on the regular. And that's because they just tried a whole heck of a lot harder. Because even though, the workouts were the workouts, that weekend was regionals weekend. And they knew if they didn't lay it on the line and give every last drop of effort, that their season could end right there. And so it was the intensity that they brought that made those workouts and events just sting the way that they did. And, that's what happens with a lot of folks in the Open as well. So it's just a unique observation about people are curious creatures. Okay, next most upvoted was from Charlie B. Charlie B, where are you, sir? Here we go, Charlie B. This one had me thinking a little bit, I have to admit. What is the most valuable life lesson you learned during your time in the military, and how did that life lesson translate to civilian life, in particular the CrossFit realm? Okay, I answered the question in general. Maybe I didn't hit every specific deal. So, um, yeah, I went into the military after college, went into the Navy, went through BUDS, which is SEAL school, graduated SEAL school, went to SEAL Team 4, was in the Navy about 7 years, all that time at SEAL Team 4, got hurt, broke my pelvis, got out, became a civilian, and a lot's happened since then. So, I took a little walk down memory lane in my head today because that time that I spent there in the military was very, very impactful and definitely shaped the way that I do business, the way that I think about things, the way that I try anyway to carry myself and approach problems to this day, and I think about a lot of the things that occurred almost daily. I bet a day doesn't go by that I don't reflect on some aspect of something that I experienced, back then in the military and relate it to something today. And some of those things I also try to the best of my ability to instill those life lessons and values in my kids. I don't think either one of them has an interest in going in the military, and that's fine with me, by the way. But I try to instill some of those things in them. So anyway, I took a trip down memory lane when this question got asked. And here's what I came up with. So, and this is in no particular order, okay? These are just the top few things. The ability to grind and suffer. I just don't know if you're not going to make it through SEAL training and BUDS and just live in that world if you don't have the ability to just grind, to suck it up, and to just suffer. Which, that's not sexy or glamorous, but it's mission critical in miserable situations. And I don't know if I possessed that ability prior to training, or if training helped me bring it out, or, there wasn't like some, BUDS is just a selection process. They don't care if you quit. That's a very interesting thing. There are some, challenges that people will do in the civilian world now, where you'll go through some miserable thing for 1, 2, 3 days, whatever it happens to be, and they want to keep you up and, make it miserable and give you this little experience, if you will. And a lot of times those challenges aim to help you learn something about yourself. And if you do hit a dark moment and you're down in the dumps and you're on the brink of quitting and maybe you reached your limit, they don't want you to quit. You're supposed to learn something from this experience. So it'll be their goal to keep you in it, to address the situation and then to do what they can do to pick you up, to strengthen you and to move forward, which is fantastic. There's a ton of value with that. That is not BUDS. That is not SEAL school. An interesting thing about BUDS, they do not care if you quit. You will not get a, hey, are you sure you want to do that? Hey, have you thought this through? Hey, have you considered? At the very second you're like, I don't think I want to be here, they're like, great, fantastic, beat it, there's the door, gone. And so whether you stay or not, whatever the demons you face or don't face, and you either vanquish them or they get you, it's on you. I mean, there's no part of BUDS, which is like, at least when I went through this, like motivational, find your inner why course that then helps you get through the next. There's none of that, period. They're just going to try to beat the stuffing out of you every day, and whether you stay or go, that's on you. But their job is to make you really, really, really want to quit. And so I don't know how that all intertwined, but the ability to grind, the ability to suffer, the ability to endure, that was something, again, I don't know if I walked in with it or just became a sink or swim, a fight or flight. I had to learn how to do that, or I wouldn't have survived in BUDS. That was a really big thing that I walked away with, and then that continues, after BUDS, when you get to your team and your command and all that good stuff as well. They want you, don't complain, shut your mouth and do what's necessary. That's it. Nobody cares about your feelings. Nobody cares about any of that stuff. What has to get done reigns supreme, and that's what you do. Nobody cares that you're tired. Nobody cares that you're hungry. Nobody cares that you're wet. Nobody cares that you're not getting to do what you want to do. You don't do what you want to do. You do what is necessary. Period. End of story. And then once you successfully complete what is necessary, if you have time, then maybe you can address some of your personal selfish needs. But not before that. So that was an interesting thing. We could go down a big rabbit hole about how I think some of those things that I just mentioned right there and some of the things I'm going to mention next that I walked away with are sadly vacant in a lot of today's society and mindset as far as I'm concerned. And I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. Teamwork. I walked away from the military with an incredible sense of the importance of teamwork, almost above all else. 100% teamwork. Selfishness was not tolerated. You put others, your teammates, and their needs ahead of you. Period. End of story. And anything other than that was not tolerated and wasn't acceptable, and that was not the culture. And that's also, again, I think conspicuously absent in a lot of organizations and things today. Leadership. I mean, I'll just say leadership because we don't even have enough time. That could be an entire series of podcasts or books or whatnot. I mean, what I learned about leadership and being put in a leadership role in that community was tremendous. And what makes a true leader? Not some, I don't know, some corny, cheesy, have a motivational quote kind of a leader, like an actual leader when things are like really tough, and how to motivate people to do things and inspire people and lead from the front and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that was what that culture was all about, and a lot of the things that I learned from being lucky enough to have some fantastic mentors and people ahead of me in the SEAL teams to learn from. And then, like everything else in life, I learned a lot by just doing things wrong and figuring out that, what's that? Oh, come on in, buddy. We're live, but you can come on in. Oh, careful with that there. What do you need?
Oh, I was just going to say I'm done for now.
You're done already?
Yeah.
Done with school?
Yeah, I checked it. I'm done right now.
Come on over. Let's see if people see. This would be amazing. So, you're telling me, what time we got? It's 10:14 a.m.
Yes.
You started school at about 10 a.m.
Yep.
So we think in 14 minutes.
Yeah.
How's that possible?
I don't know. I checked through everything. I checked if I was missing anything. I only said missing because I just forgot to turn it in, but I did it. Mom saw it. So.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. Careful of that on the floor there, and then all right. We'll go have some fun, and I'll circle back with you. Just close that door, please. All right. Thanks, buddy. It's our 11-year-old Deacon. I'm highly dubious that all of his work has been done in the last 14 minutes. And let's just say for a second that it is actually done. Then my faith in the American educational system, which was not the best to begin with, has just taken yet another significant blow. But we'll circle back to that later. Anyway, yes, leadership. Huge. Again, that could be a series of podcasts or a book. Leadership and management are not the same thing. I think people confuse that all the time. But anyway, that's a rabbit hole. And, I will... Here's an encapsulation that I've tried to get across to my kids. I might use some different language when I do with them. Obviously, we try to keep this family friendly and not swear on the podcast so that anybody can listen to it. That's not how the SEAL teams operate, just so you know. Colorful language is the order of the day. But I'll sum it up like this. Okay, this is in general what the culture was and how you did things, and I think it was incredibly valuable. So, you're an individual, right? I mean, maybe you're the communications guy in the platoon, you're the sniper, you're point, you're security, you're the platoon leader, like whatever you happen to be. You have your individual role in the platoon. And then you're a member of your platoon, okay? And then your platoon, for me it was either Bravo or Foxtrot. For your platoon happens to be a part of a SEAL team. So we were at SEAL Team 4. So let's say, for example, I was the, assistant platoon leader, Foxtrot platoon, SEAL Team 4. And then SEAL Team 4, which is an East Coast SEAL team, comes under a command that oversees all of the East Coast SEAL teams, which back then was 2, 4, and 8. And so maybe you go out, you do some training, you do whatever it is it happens to do, you go overnight, you take some boats out, blah, 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 you do some parachute jumping. Well, you've got your gear, your individual gear, could be your weapon, your communication system, your, whatever it happens to be, your boots, your ruck, and then you have, gear that potentially is just the platoon's gear, gear that in general belongs to the platoon, it's shared gear. And then you have gear that, belongs to the team, SEAL Team 4 gear, that they let all the platoons use. And then there's gear that maybe SEAL Team 4 doesn't own. Potentially it involves, the larger commands called Group 2. Group 2 owns it, and, SEAL Team 2 could use it, SEAL Team 4 could use it, SEAL Team 8 could use it. So long story short, there's all these layers. After you do whatever it happened to be, training and everything's wet and sandy and, batteries need to get charged, weapons need to get cleaned, all this stuff needs to happen. It's probably, you've been at it for a couple of days and now it's like really late at night or really early in the morning, 11 p.m., 1 p.m. All you want to do is go home, 11 p.m., 1 a.m. The order of operations is you do not take care of yourself first. Even though you're tired and wet and whatever it happens to be and your rifle's dirty, you don't take care of your gear first. You take care of the furthest thing away from you. So the furthest thing away would be any gear that happened to belong to Group 2 that, any SEAL team could use. You take care of that gear first. You make sure that it is in perfect, impeccable condition, better than you received it, and you put it back where it belongs. Next, nobody still cares that you want to take care of yourself or that you're hungry or that you want to take a shower, whatever it happens to be. You go down, and the next order of business would be taking care of any gear that belonged to the SEAL team in general. So any gear that was SEAL Team 4 gear that any platoon could use, you take care of that gear. Get it all cleaned up, put it all away, put it back so that anyone who needs it, it's ready. Nobody still cares that you want to take a hot shower. Next down the line, any gear that's specific to your platoon, for me, let's say it was Foxtrot platoon, you take care of all that stuff, put all that away. You still have not taken care of yourself yet. You haven't taken care of your needs. You haven't done any of that stuff. Finally, when all of that is done, you then go around to everybody else who is out there with you, both in your platoon and maybe the support staff that was helping running the training operation, for example, and you say, does anyone here need help doing anything at all? And if anybody says yes, you then help them do whatever that is. If you keep playing this game until no one says that they need help, then you take care of yourself. You get out of your wet clothes, you clean your own rifle, you put all of your gear away, you make everything tip-top and ready again, you get some food, you take a nice hot shower, and then you finally go home. But your needs are dead last. And I don't see a lot of that today. And it saddens me greatly. And I don't know how you develop that or instill that or whatever. But I try to get that, across to my kids. Even if it's something as simple as they're at lacrosse practice or soccer practice or something, and they run off the field, and I see that, out on the soccer field, their coach is out there slowly picking up the cones from the practice. Like, no, run back out there to your coach, help him take care of the team gear, ask him if he needs any help doing anything, pick up the cones, and then you can come on back over here, just stuff like that. So, And I'm certainly not perfect about it myself. I fall off the path regularly, but I try to remind myself of what the path is and get back on there. So that's some of the stuff um, that sticks with me. There's a lot more, but anyway, that's some of the stuff that popped in when that question was asked this morning. Okay, next one is from John D. It's about the Open and about how various age divisions have either the quote-unquote prescribed weights or start to scale. So here's from John D. So this is technically a CrossFit Open question, but you may have some valuable insight regardless. The Masters division doesn't begin scaling RX weights until you're over 55. Why that cutoff? It seems late. And also, why not multiple Masters RX WODs? Probably just to make things easier, he says. And yes, I'm asking this because I'm turning 53 next month, and man, RXing the Open workouts with the same weights and movements as the 18 to 35-year-old group is obviously super challenging. Thanks. Okay, so, great question. And there's no one singular answer for this. I went back and looked last year for the 2020 CrossFit Games Open. What were the 5 workouts? What were the loadings? So on and so forth. And the age cutoff that John's speaking about, it is, the 50 to 54-year-old division is the final age group category that will use, at least as far as we know, the same loadings, etc., as everybody else, the prescribed loadings. And then starting with 55 to 59-year-old division, things change. Movements might change, loadings could go down, etc., etc. So when you're approaching in years the end of that final division that kind of does things prescribed, the 50 to 54, you're holding on there, and I'm sure that those loadings are feeling heavy, and etc., etc., etc. But the thing is, even if you're using the same loadings as the 18 to 35-year-olds, let's say this, okay, that's true. In my mind, I wouldn't think that you're competing against them, because you're really not. You're still competing against the people in your age division. So if one of the first open workouts last year had a 95-pound barbell ground overhead, and I think burpees, if I'm remembering correctly. So that was the same for the 50 to 54-year-olds as it was for 18 to 35. Are most people in the 18 to 35-year-old division going to put up a faster time or more rounds on that workout than somebody in the 50 to 54 division? Absolutely. Absolutely. But to some degree, who cares? Because if you're in that 50 to 54 division, you're only competing with the scores in your age bracket. So disregard those pesky 18 to 35-year-olds, and you're just going against your peers. And for a tremendous amount of people in the 50 to 54 division, there's nothing wrong with a 95-pound barbell ground overhead. It's still a very reasonable loading and movement for most people. So that seems and feels appropriate. Even if your score is less than the lower divisions, the younger divisions, who cares? And of course, there's a scaled option that people can pursue as well. The next workout had a pair of 50-pound dumbbells for some thrusters. Those are a beast. I don't care what age you are, and you're certainly going to feel them in the 50 to 54-year-old division. But most people anyway can still do them, even if they're broken up more, even if the dumbbells are resting on the floor more as you catch your breath. It's still appropriate for a tremendous amount of people in the 50 to 54-year-old division. So again, maybe you're slower on the workout or get less rounds, but that's okay because you're still doing it relative to your peers. And then the other workouts that some things got real heavy or whatnot, again, it's so important to realize that you're just competing against your peers. You're not competing against the 19-year-old. You're not, even though he or she may be using the same weight and loading. There was a workout that involved deadlift, started at 225, and it could go up to 315 pounds if you made it that far. And it started with handstand push-ups and then would go to handstand walking again if you made it that far. And from all of my experience, the world's full of people in the 50 to 54-year-old division, gentlemen anyway, that a 225-pound deadlift and some handstand push-ups, they've got those all day long. And the other part is true. There's a lot of people in the 50 to 54-year-old division that if you did not give them the same loadings and movements as the younger divisions, there would be a firestorm of hate and complaints and how dare yous and don't you know how capable we are in the 50 to 54-year-old division? Why are you scaling us prematurely? So for as many people as there are who may feel that the 50 to 54-year-old division maybe should be toned down a bit, you have to remember there is an equally vocal, equally passionate group of individuals who would just lose their minds if the 50 to 54-year-old division was scaled. So in short, you can't make everybody happy. No matter what you do, a portion will be smiling and a portion will be frowning. But in general, I think it's about where it needs to be. Again, keeping in mind that you're relative to your peers, and those workouts that do work their way up to like a real heavy deadlift, or one of the workouts had clean and jerks in it, they ended at 315 pounds if you'd make it there, but they started at 95 pounds. So again, you're going to be able to play and keep going, and then when you reach whatever that loading or whatever it is that's the limits of your capacity, it's all good, and that's where you stop, and then you see where you shake out, compared to your compatriots. So, but it's tough when when you're getting close to the end of one division. That's what we always used to say when we were covering the games, especially for the masters and the age groups. Pays to be the young guy or girl, young man or woman, I should say, in the next division. So one day, if you're John, you say that you are in the 50 to 54-year-old. It's tough when you're 54, but the next year you're 55 and you're the young guy in the 55 to 59, and that's a good thing to be. And that's same is true in the 35 to 39-year-old division. You'd rather be the 35-year-old in the 35-year-old to 39 division than the 39-year-old who's about to turn 40. Again, we could play this game kind of all day long, but I get where you're coming from, and still to the best of your ability, it's just you against you. Have fun with the open, and don't let it stress you out. I know it's easier said than done. Okay. We have one or two left. Oh, we got two. I forgot about this other one. Okay, here we go. Next one, most upvoted, is from Philip. Philip I believe it was near the bottom. Where are you, Philip? There we go. All right. Philip says, as I approach 40, I've begun to feel a slight tweak in my right knee, usually during cool-down stretches. I want to make sure this doesn't turn into anything more serious, but I don't want to stop doing squats, for example. How do I ensure my knee lasts as long as I do? Great question. So anyway, first and foremost, go have a professional look at it. That is my 100% best recommendation. Why your knee is hurting, how it's hurting, where it's hurting, the frequency and intensity with which it's hurting, what causes it to hurt, are all things that if you just do a Google search, you'll get 75 different answers, most of which lead somewhere terrible. If you ask 15 different people on social media, you'll probably get 15 different answers based upon their personal experience. You've got to go to an actual a medical professional that is capable and competent, and then start to solve that riddle there. That being said, not all professionals are created equal just because they have a medical degree hanging on the wall. They may know more than the random person that you're asking on social media, but you might get somebody that, even though they're a very intelligent medical professional, still feels that squatting is the work of the devil, and you're going to just blow your knees and back out, and why would you even ever consider loading the body with a squat? So again, you want to make sure you find a medical professional that understands strength and conditioning, understands functional movements, and understands that moving your body through a full range of motion and loading your body appropriately is actually protective of your health and improves your health and actually does not deteriorate your health, and that you are looking to get some answers for what you have going on so that you can continue down this path, which will ideally provide you with the highest and longest quality of life possible. So that's the medical professional that you want to find. And then once you have that conversation, once you try to start to figure out what it is, why it's happening, then, they're a medical professional, not a mind reader or a magician, so they probably won't have all the answers as well. And they'll most likely, again, work with your medical professional, there most likely will have to be a little bit of research or experimentation or trial and error on your part to then find out what can you or can you not do, right? So for example, does any and all loading cause you pain, or is it just heavy loading? What about moderate loading? What about light loading? Does the volume or repetitions affect how your knee feels? Do you find that you can do a 21-15-9 and you're just fine, but if you do something that has 100 reps, you do something like Karen, that's no good. So what is it for volume and rep scheme as well? And then movements. There's a bunch of different ways that we can work the below parallel. Is it just squatting that gives you some grief? What about lunges, both weighted and unweighted? What about box step-ups, both weighted and unweighted? What about air squats? What about Bulgarian split squats? Box squats, front squats, overhead squats. All these different things. You're going to have to figure out what treats you well and what doesn't treat you well. And then ideally, you do develop this nice basket of movements that you have found you can do. The movements that you can do, the loading that treats you right, and the rep ranges that treat you right. And now you're starting to get some really valuable information for you personally that you can use to drive and modify and scale your workouts in the future so that you can do exactly what you're saying. Keep yourself as healthy as possible and as pain-free as possible for as long as possible to have that great high quality of life, which is what we're all after anyway. So that will be my recommendation on that. All right, we've got one more, and then we've got some Linchpin shoutouts. The last one that was upvoted and warmly received was from Nate P. Nate, where are you? I'm scrolling through the comments and questions now. Okay, here it is. I'll get myself a sip of water before we dive into this. Okay. What is the best way to quote-unquote get back into it after you've lost the groove? We took a little time off around the holidays and had a horrible time trying to recommit. It felt like a workout plus accessories was too much, but I'm wondering if maybe it's better to just do it all at a really scaled level versus only doing the workout, since I seem to be dead after that. Okay. All right, Nate, here we go. Part of this might seem a bit harsh, but it's not intended to be harsh, okay? This is just my true feelings on it. Best way to get back into it is never to have stopped in the first place. There you go. And that's not meant to sound harsh or flippant or whatever you'd want to say it, but you're absolutely right. Getting back going again is a miserable experience. There's that phrase or saying, or maybe it's physics, whatever, that a body in motion stays in motion. I think that is so applicable to health and wellness and fitness and strength and conditioning. Consistency is such a huge driver of results, and keeping it as part of your schedule and habit and routine and just what you do. And then the good things happen, from gains to strength to your engine to your gymnastics. It's so disruptive to start and be committed for a while, and then you fall off, and then you start back again, and you got to pick up some steam because you lost it, and then something happens and you fall back off. And that yo-yo roller coaster of stop, stop, go. It's hard on the body, it's hard on the mind, it's hard on everything. So I fully agree with you that it is absolutely, you said you had a horrible time trying to recommit and get started again. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. So, to the best of your ability, don't stop. Now, I don't know your life. I don't know the stressors that you have, the sleep that you did or didn't get, all the other things going on that for whatever reason knocked your fitness off of what you were able to accomplish every day. And it very well may have been unavoidable, okay? But if there is any way to just, like we say, that the perfect is the enemy of the good, right? And doing something is not just a little bit better than nothing. Doing something is orders of magnitude better than nothing. So maybe you're in this terrible part of your life that you don't have anything, you got no motivation, you don't have time. If just every other day, as repetitive and boring as this is, every other day you did 5 minutes worth of burpees. Not even that. You did 50 burpees every other day. Whatever it takes you, it takes you. And that's all you did. That would be so much better for that 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks instead of doing nothing that I can't even explain it. And 50 burpees, even at 10 burpees a minute, which is a very reasonable pace, is going to take you 5 minutes. Whereas if you stomp the gas, it might take you around 3 minutes. So we're not talking about a massive time commitment. Now, I know that you're not getting variance. I know that there's tons of things that you're missing, and that I am aware of the shortfalls of what I just said. But I am also intimately aware of the shortfalls of not doing anything and how tough it is to do exactly what you just described. So do something if you can, and I think the benefits will be fantastic. Okay, so how do you get back into it? Well, first of all, intelligent scaling and modifications. I mean, that's the answer right there. And that depends on the person, what their body and mind can tolerate, and what is appropriate for them. But here's just general speaking. General person. Okay, this may not fit you perfectly, but this is my general advice. Shoot for 3 workouts a week if you're getting back into it. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever that happens to be, but just try for 3. And use those off days to stretch, to mobilize, and to do some meal prep, because the nutrition is absolutely huge, and you'll undo everything that you did with those workouts if you're not making good decisions in the kitchen. So use those off days, give time and dedication to your meals as well. On those 3 workouts, I would say just start with a warm-up, the workout of the day, cool down, stretch, and go home. I personally would not do accessory work if you're just looking to get back into it. You're not looking to make up for lost time, right? And just start doing a whole bunch of stuff that then just beats you down, makes you feel super sore and tired. And then you don't have a lot of motivation to do it again. So we do want to come back in gently with some grace, with a little crawl, walk, run sort of approach. Scale the workouts as needed, those 3 workouts a week. Be it the loading, be it the rep range, or even the intensity. Don't feel like you got to burn it down just coming back, right? Allow yourself to do some workouts at 50%. You're still doing functional moves and moving your body. And then when that feels good, bump it up a little to 60 or 70% and just slowly come back. When you're ready, try to then go from 3 workouts a week to 4 workouts a week, for as long as that takes, till you don't feel like death in the morning, you're making good scaling decisions, you're actually looking forward to walking into the gym, you're making it a part of your life again. And then try to get it to 5 workouts a week, still with no accessory work. And then get to the point where you're doing 5 workouts a week and it is now a part of your life. It's a habit, you enjoy it, things are good, and you can slowly start scaling less and less if that's appropriate for you. And make sure that you're actually going to stick to it, because like I said, consistency wins, and inconsistency, starting and stopping, is an absolute health and fitness killer. And then after you're ready, if you're ready for it and you want accessory work, we do say it's optional. It truly is optional. You do not need to do accessory work, but if you want it and you're ready for it, then we would play that same game. I wouldn't put it in every day. I'd put it in twice a week, and potentially I'd scale it. Reduce the volume, the loading, the reps, whatever it happens to be. See how it treats your body. See how you feel. Are you sleeping well? Are you overtrained? Are you under-recovered? Whichever one of those you want to say. That feels good. You want to put in a bit more? Maybe do it 3 times a week. And just keep playing this game, intelligently adding both volume and intensity and reps until you get to whatever that point is that works for you and is sustainable. I would rather see you do 5 workouts a week, no accessory work, and be able to maintain that as part of your life forever than feeling like you have to do a whole bunch of workouts a week, 5 days a week, and do the accessory work, and then you're only able to maintain that for 3 weeks, and then you take 10 days off, and you come back for 2 weeks, you take a week off, and you're on it for 2 months, off for a month. I don't think that's going to serve you well long term. So you have to find what works well for you in your life. And then you're always just playing this game of assessing where you're at and making a rudder adjustment if need be. You're never locked into what it is. So that would be my 2 cents on that. And that brings us to the Linchpin shoutouts. So here we go. I've got 4 of them today that I grabbed from the Private Track Facebook group at various times. First and foremost, this one is from Matthew P., and I entitled it Crushed the Fire Department Test. So Matt says he tends to be a bit of a lurker in the Facebook group, but today was such an encouraging day for him that he had to share. Right before joining Linchpin, I decided to change career paths and pursue firefighting. A little over a year ago, I had to do my CPAT, which I assume is the firefighting test. And although I passed, it was a struggle. Breathing was very labored. I rarely did cardio. My body wasn't used to that kind of intensity, and by the end, my shoulders barely got through the breach and pull portion. Happy to share with the community that not only did I pass my recertification test today, but I did it in 8 minutes and 38 seconds, as opposed to my original time of 10 minutes and 9 seconds. Linchpin has not only opened my eyes to the plethora of benefits around functional training, but more importantly, it's helped me stay consistent with my training. So he says, basically hang in there, stay the course, results are coming, and progress feels good. So congrats, Matt. That's fantastic. All right, next one. I entitled this one, Bar Muscle Ups, Deadlifts, and Blood Sugar. Isn't that a great title? This is from Zach H. I found my bar muscle up tonight. I don't know what happened, but I have only gotten one my entire life several months ago, and then I hit 2 in a row, then 3, then 4, then almost 5 in a row tonight between my deadlift reps. Totally unexpected. I have no clue what happened tonight, but I felt strong. Also maxed my deadlift at 345 pounds. Tonight was the strongest and clearest I've felt since starting CrossFit. I am a type 1 diabetic, and have never felt more fit since starting Linchpin about 5 or 6 months ago. Blood sugars are good. Thanks for making the page so underpriced for what you get and so accessible to everybody. How cool is that? That makes me extremely happy to hear about his blood sugar. Okay, 2 more. I think you're going to enjoy these. This is from Matt DL, a 25 kilogram deadlift increase. 25 kilograms. I know that's around 50 pounds, but for us Americans, let's see, 25 times 2.2. 55 pounds is what 25 kilograms is. So here's what Matt says. Yesterday, I did my first workout with a barbell since I last went to a gym about 3 years ago. I've been doing the limited equipment workouts on Linchpin, which is the dumbbell-only track, for about 2 years. So he's been just dumbbells for 2 years. And it was great to be able to get to do a barbell deadlift again. I was able to deadlift 25 kilograms more than the last time he had a barbell in his hand on every single rep. Very happy about that. So how cool is that? Hasn't been able to have a barbell in his hands for 2 years, just does the dumbbell workouts, finally gets a barbell in his hands, deadlift goes up by 55 pounds. We'll go ahead and take that. And lastly, here's the last one. This is very cool. This is from Matt S. So as we do this podcast here, it's March 2021. In March of 2019, is when Matt started with Linchpin. So it's been 2 years. So it's really cool to see what 2 years of progress is about. Matt says, more evidence that Linchpin works. So we're talking about a 5x5 back squat workout. That was the workout of the day. 5x5 back squat. The first time I did today's workout, 5x5 back squat, was March of 2019, and I had 205 pounds on the bar. Today, I had 305 pounds for my final set. That's an increase of 100 pounds for his 5-rep max back squat. Back squats have always been relatively weak for me, and I never thought I would hit 300 pounds for a single. So I'm over the moon to hit 305 pounds for 5 reps. That kind of relates to what I was talking about earlier, with consistency paying off and just staying the course. 2 years, 100 pounds added to a 5-rep back squat. That's fantastic. So that's it. That's all we have for today. It's a rest day for most of us. As always, I encourage you to take it. I certainly will be. And I will see you on the Facebook page. See you on the interwebs. And have a good day.